Hi, welcome to today's tutorial for the C set. I'll be showing you all the steps how to make both the wavy blouse and the semi-short today. And you can find all the information about the sizing, the design, what fabrics you could use, everything you need. It's all in my booklet that comes with the pattern. And the pattern is available on my website, which I'll link here. So this set was completely designed around an hourglass. If you look at all the body types, I feel like there's one thing almost every body type has in common, and that is showing off your waist is always a benefit to your whole figure. So the blouse has puffy sleeves, but it's slightly cropped. So not so cropped your skin is showing, but just enough to show a little bit of your waist from the high-waisted shorts. With the shorts, it curves slightly inwards instead of running straight up, because so many shorts carry so much of fabric at the waist, and I feel like it kind of makes your waist disappear. By bringing the waist in, your shorts sits a little bit closer around your waist, and it kind of hugs your lower back, but still in a super comfortable way because it has an elastic, so you can pull it easily over your hips. And because the shorts kind of move towards the outside when going down, this hourglass figure is completed. So before we get into the tutorial, I just wanted to show you the end result really quick. So these are the shorts and this is the blouse. So if you ever have any questions, never hesitate to reach me, because I really want you to have the most easy and comfortable experience making this set. So find me on my email, find me on both of my Instagrams. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Let's get started. All right, so let's go through all the pieces we need for this top. We have the back piece, which is cut on fold. We have the back placket that will go on the bottom. We have the front two pieces with two front plackets. We have the sleeves, and make sure to cut the notches for the back side of the sleeve so you know where to attach it. And we have the neck lining. And what I want to show you for the front pieces are here. So I like to cut out my front pieces double layered, but they are not the same because one has a straight bottom line and the other one has a wavy bottom line. And let me show you on one of the finished pieces. So here you see the straight line and here you see the wavy line. The wavy line will go on top of the straight line so you can add the buttons more easily. And when I cut them out mirrored 2 times on the straight line, and then for the front plackets I cut them 2 times mirrored as well with the straight line, and then I determine where each piece goes. So for me, this is the good side, which means this will go here. This is the good side, which means this will go here. And we just saw that the left one has to be the straight line. You can do it either way you like, but for me, the left side is a straight line and the right side is the wavy side. So I take my already cut out piece and I lay this over it, and then I just cut out the wavy side. That's the only thing I cut out still. And then for the plackets as well, this needs to go good side to good side. So this needs to go here and this needs to go here. So this one's done already, but for this one I need to cut out this. I need to make this wavy as well, so I'll put this over it like this and I'll cut this out. First, we will start with overlocking the edges of our placket. So we have two front plackets and one back placket, and we'll overlock the inside lines of the placket. So all the way here, all the way here, and then all the way here. So you will not overlock the wavy side, but the straight sides. If your fabric has a good side and a bad side, you want to make sure you know which one is which. So the bad side is the side you don't want to see on the outside of the finished product, and the good side is the side you do want to see on the outside. So I marked mine with a heat pen so I can iron this off, don't worry. And this is just so I know, because they're so similar, I need to know which one is the right one. I'm putting the side I do want to see in my finished piece facing upwards. And I'll take the back placket and I'll make sure to line it up perfectly. So this is the good side as well, which means I will put good side to good side. This is the bad side. So we have the good side from this one, and we have the good side from this one. Those sides we need to put together, and I'll pin everything in place. Let's put this to the side and then get your front pieces. I like to lay them out exactly as they will be when they're finished. So let me mark my bad side. So this is my bad side. And this is my bad side. This will be the front. This will be the front too. And then we want to lay these good side to good side also. This is bad side. And this is the bad side. So that means that this one should go here, should go here, and that's right, because these are both wavy and these are both straight. So I'll pin these in place as well. When you're sewing your placket onto your front and your back piece, make sure you use straight stitch, and I prefer to use the lowest stitch length because I can just make the waves as wavy as possible without the machine going super fast. So this makes for very small steps, so I can just go along the curves with the most precision. And your width is on 0, your needles in the middle, and I have my tension on 3. When sewing your plackets onto your fabric, we are putting the fabric at the edge of the presser foot, because I just like to use my normal presser foot, and this is a perfect guideline to let the waves just go not further than this. So it's not a 1 centimeter seam allowance, it's a bit less, because 1 is just not necessary, and I find the edge of my brush foot easier than to maintain the 1 centimeter line. So let's put it up there, and then for sewing your waves, we have a 1 centimeter stitch length, and it's very important that when you are guiding your fabric, you're guiding it as slow as you can, Because if you are trying to make the waves and guiding your fabric too fast, it will create a pointy top. And you almost want to feel like, oh, I'm gonna miss the wave or it's going too flat. That's actually perfect. And if your fabric has a little bit of stretch in it, try not to stretch this out because the waves will kind of bend to certain directions and you don't want this. So while sewing this, I've had this a couple of times. It didn't catch both of my fabric layers because I didn't cut it super precisely. You can just go over it again and make sure that it catches both and then just sew along the edge of the line that's a bit shorter. Before we are turning our front piece inside out, we want to put the interfacing on here. And I want to put it on this side of my front piece. So this is the good side because this will be flipped over. So this means this is the inside and I want my interfacing to be on the inside of my blouse behind the placket. So I have two interfacing pieces and one is for the wavy part and one is for the straight part. So I'm gonna take this one and cut off the interfacing and I need it to stick to this side. So the sticky side needs to be this side and the not sticky side needs to be this side. So the sticky side's bottom. And you will repeat this for the wavy part as well. As you can see here, the wavy part, so the top of the waves, we need to cut off the fabric a little bit shorter there. Make sure you're not cutting too close to the lines. Because if we want to turn them inside out and there's too much fabric, it will create more of a pointy top than a wavy top. All right. We are going over to our iron, and this is where I turn all of my waves inside out. So let me show you how I do this. I push out the wave to the other side and I make sure that it's not pointy, but it has this almost like flat wave on the top. And then I push it down so it has the shape that I want. And then I go over it with my iron. So you can see here, this is the pointiest top of all of them. And then I make sure if I put it flat enough that it will create the best flattened curve. Check the sides. And if there are any parts you're not to your liking, you can just adjust it and iron it flat in a way that you think looks nice. So for now, this is what our front pieces look like. We will go over this again with our sewing machine, but first we want to attach this to our back piece. Before we attach this to our back piece, we want to finish our back piece off. So we will sew along this line from the back piece first, and we want to attach the neck lining. So we're gonna sew along this first and then do the neck lining. When you're sewing along your wavy line, make sure you still have the same setting. So 1 stitch length, straight stitch, 0, middle. To sew along the edge of the back piece. And now is the moment to make sure your waves are exactly how you want them, because we're going to sew them in place, really. Now we're going to attach a neck lining. So we have this piece cut out and we have the good side of our back piece facing upward. So the bad side is on your table, and then we have the bad side of our neck lining and the good side of our neck lining, and we want to see the bad side. So I'm placing the good side of this on the good side of my back piece, and then I'm going to pin this in place. When you're going to sew your neck lining, make sure to change your settings. So we're doing 2.5 stitch length, still straight stitch, that's the only difference. We want to overlock this, or you can use your zigzag stitch on your normal sewing machine. We'll be ironing this in place. So let's iron this in place. Because the bottom is also extra lined from the outside, I'm going to line this as well. So I'm going to sew super close to the edge, but line this in place so it will not move. So I'm freezing the screen really quick because there are 2 ways you can finish the neck lining. One is you sew over the necklining first and then attach the back to the front pieces. And option B is you attach the back to the front pieces first and then sew over the necklining. You can have your stitch length to 2.5 or 1, whatever you prefer. I'm going to use the 2.5 stitch length because it just goes a little bit faster, but whatever you prefer. Okay, so when you're done with the bottom of your back piece and you have attached the necklining, then we can sew the front and the back side together. Okay, so let's put it down like it shall be when it's finished. So this is how it should look like when it's all put together. But now all the insides are facing each other and we need all the outsides to be facing each other. So we're going to flip this whole thing around. And now we are going to take this right piece and flip it over and take the left piece and flip it over. So if these are connected and you flip them over, you'd have your normal blouse. And this too, if you would flip this over, you'd have your normal blouse. So follow my lead and it will all look perfect. So we're going to use our necklining to go on the inside. So we're flipping the necklining over our other piece. Let me do this again. We have the front piece with the placket. This will be attached together. You will hold this in place. This is the back side. So we lay this against the back side, but then the necklining will fold around. And then we'll pin this in place. The front and the placket of the front, we'll keep that together. We'll lay this against the back and we'll flip the necklining. We'll flip this over and then we will pin it in place. And now we'll sew along this edge with the 1 centimeter seam allowance and this edge also. I'm still having my settings on 2.5 stitch length. Now we're overlocking this. So now if you flip it over, it looks super nice. Now for option B, you attach the necklining to the back, then you attach the back piece to the front pieces, and then you can line the front pieces and the neck all in one go, like this. We're changing our stitch length to 1 again. We'll be sewing along the edge of the presser foot again. The front has been lined. Let's cut off. So we're going to need our sleeves for the next part. Let's grab one sleeve and mark the bad sides. Bad side, bad side. So I have both of them marked. Now I'm gonna sew along the top edge of my sleeve so I can create a little bit of ruffles later. And I'm doing this with my sewing machine. Let me show you. We are changing our stitch length to the highest possible one, and if this is the top of my sleeve, I'm sewing from the notches all the way to half of the curve on the other side. So where are my notches? There. Also, I'm putting my needle to the right, and I'm not front and back stitching because I need to be able to pull the threads. Now I want to find the right sleeve for the right side. If you have two good sides on your sleeve, it doesn't really matter, but for me only one will fit the right way. So I need to put the good side of my back side to the good side of my sleeve. So this is the bad side, which means the good side now are touching, and this is the notch that marks for the back piece. So this is the good sleeve for this side. Let me get my pins and pin everything in place. I start with the one end and then I go over to the other side and I pin the other side in place, and then I go from both sides. I will move to the center slowly. Until I've reached the notches or the place where my ruffles are starting. So as you can see here, I have too much fabric for my blouse, which means I'm going to pull the thread here. Only one. So I have one on each side. I'm just pulling the one at the front and guiding my fabric to the left. With some fabrics this goes super easy, and then with other fabrics it just will not work so well. I don't know why. So now that the ruffles are here, I'm going to take them apart as much as I need to fill up the whole space that is left. And I make sure to keep my ruffles in the middle. And you can see they are the same length. And I feel like the ruffles are kind of more to the front than to the back. So let me change this up a bit. Like so. Now they're nice and even around the center of the shoulder. The more you put the ruffles all in one place, the more puff it will create on that spot on the blouse. If you would like to distribute them a little bit more, it will create less of a puff at the center, but more just an overall little bit of puffiness. Now we will do this to the other side as well. So we have the outsides of the blouse facing us. And here we want to put the good side. So this is the bad side. We want to put the good side touching the blouse. And now we can check if the notches are at the back. And this is also the back, so that's correct. We'll be sewing along here with the 1 centimeter seam allowance. I'm putting my stitch length back to 2.5. Make sure to put your needle in the middle again. The sleeves are finished, and now we want to attach the front and the back together on the sides with the sleeve. So we're putting our blouse again inside out. So this is the outside, this is the inside. And we're laying the sides together and we're pinning the shoulder or the armpit seams. And we're sewing this with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. We're going to put the sleeve on our ironing board and we're going to make the tube for our elastic that will go around your arm. Let's fold this first as little fabric as you can, so maybe 0.5 centimeter away from the edge, all the way around. And now we're going to fold this over again. And this really depends on how big you want your elastic to be or how short you want your sleeve. So for me, I always look at the elastic I want to use. And for the arms, I always use a super small one. So I just basically make sure that if I sew this, this will fit through. And this is 2 centimeters. So I will fold this all the way around 2 centimeters. Because we need to put our elastic through, we're sewing all the way around, but we're leaving a little bit of space open. So This is the seam of the armpit and the side of the blouse. So I'm starting a little bit after it and I'm sewing along the edge of the folded fabric. And when we're reaching the part we've already sewn, I'm stopping, counting back stitch. So now you want to measure how long you want your elastic to be, so you can wrap it around your arm where the sleeve will end, and then determine how tight you want this or what fits right for you. But I have found that 30 centimeters is the perfect length for all of my sleeves, so I will cut 2 elastics that are 30 centimeters wide. And then when you have your elastic, well, hello to my cat. When you have your elastic, you will pull this through the tube you've created. Hi. Make sure you keep this side so this doesn't go in. Okay. I'm just pinning this so I can get my cat out of the way. To sew my elastic, I'm putting my stitch length back to 1. I'm putting the width to 4 and setting the zigzag stitch on my sewing machine. And then when you have tried out your elastic on your arm, I'm setting all my settings back and I'm going to sew the armhole closed as well. Now the gap is closed. All right, so we have our almost finished blouse. We just need to add the buttons. Okay, so we're going to attach the buttons, and I like to do this by laying my blouse flat and just decide on where my waves are. Those are the points I'd like to add my buttons. And I just do this very intuitively. I draw so let's first sew the buttonholes in the wavy part, and then we'll attach the buttons later on the straight side of the blouse. If you have never sewn a buttonhole before, that's totally fine because you will learn it today. It's very easy. You need to first make sure your machine is on the right setting. So first, on the stitches, you will choose the buttonhole symbol. And then you will turn over your stitch length wheel to between 1 and 0. There's also the buttonhole symbol, and you want it to be somewhere in between here. If it's closer to 0, the stitches will be even shorter together, and if it's more to 1, they will be a bit further apart, and I like them to be super close together. So I'm sitting my wheel almost to 0. Then you want your width all the way to 6, and your needle can be in the middle. And then there's a very important part, because behind here on your sewing machine there is something you can pull down. So you have this part, but you will not need this. You need this, the buttonhole, and you need a click for it to go down. The next thing you want to do is take off your normal presser foot, and you'll do this by this little handle at the back. And then you want to take this piece. This comes with your sewing machine, and this is a buttonhole. Something to make your buttonholes with. And this little iron part, you will put this onto your presser foot. So you need to put your button in between this and make it fit. This will make your buttonhole the exact same size as your button. You can put your thread in here, but it's not necessary. It'll do that for you. We're putting our normal presser foot to the side, and if you've never done this, it might be a good time to practice on some practice fabric for a little bit, and otherwise we can go onto the first buttonhole. So I start my buttonhole on the bottom edge of the middle of the circle. So let me draw the line where the middle of the circle is. I need the buttonhole to be sewn along this line. And I'm starting at the bottom right, because that's where the needle starts when you make a buttonhole. It goes left, up, right, down. First I'm gonna align my buttonhole maker. So before you start, you need to do this very important thing, and that is push this thing to the back. And we have our first buttonhole. So before we do our second one, we make sure it's aligned. We push this to the back again. We'll be opening up our buttonholes by putting in our seam ripper. And we'll rip through the middle to get it to open. Now the last thing we'll do is align our blouse correctly. Make sure your blouse is aligned, and then we'll find the spots for our buttons. If you have your blouse aligned the way you want it to sit, I take my buttons and I just put them right behind. Where my buttonhole is. I've tried so many different options, and somehow this way it always turns out super nice. the last one. We have our finished blouse. So when your blouse is done and you're wearing it, but you feel like your fabric might be a little bit too flowy and that might be able to hang down a bit, you can take your thread you use for the buttons and just take it through one time, and then this will be stuck and you won't see this on the other side. Now we go over to our shorts. All right, let's take our fabric for the shorts. We want to start by sewing on the curved edges. Oh no, I need to make sure which one's the bad side and which one's the good side. So this is the good side. These are the bad sides. These are the bad sides. So we want to start by sewing the good sides together. So good side, good side. We'll pin these in place and sew along here. Good side, good side. I'm putting my stitch length back to 2.5 and my width to 0 straight stitch and the needle in the middle. We're sewing with 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now we want to attach the front side to the back side, and here you can see the seam is really nice. So this is the inside of the short, this is the outside, this is the outside, this is the inside, and we want to put the two outside pieces together. So we will see the seam here and the seam there, and we'll just pin this side together. You can see that it has this curved edge, but you just need to pin it along. And if you go step by step, then you'll see it'll work perfectly. Now we'll sew along the sides with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now we'll be taking our bottom seams and put them together, align these and pin them in place. And sew this again with 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now let's put our shorts to the side for a moment and focus on our waistband, because we need to make sure this fits properly. So what I like to do with my waistband, sometimes I like to cut this a bit longer so that I can make sure it fits perfectly around my shorts. Sometimes I sew this a bit too close together or too far apart, and then my waistband just doesn't quite fit, and I like it to fit perfectly. So this usually should fit with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, but if you like to make this longer and then adjust it so it fits perfectly, that's totally fine as well. So for now, we're just gonna put the good sides together and then sew this with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, and then just hope that I cut it all right to size and that it will fit perfectly. Now we want to fold this with the bad side on the inside in half. If you have a label, you can put it in here. I will do that in a minute. So if you want to add ties to your shorts, you absolutely can. Let me show you how. So this is where the seam line is. It will sit at the back of the shorts. So this will be the front. And to mark your buttonholes, I use my heat pen and I mark these 3 centimeters from the edge and about 1 centimeter from the top. So if I were to draw mine, it would look something like this. And on the other side, we'll do the same. And of course you can make these however long you want, but keep in mind that this part will be attached to the shorts, so a centimeter will be taken off here. So this will be the bottom line in the end, and we'll have our buttonholes. Somewhat smaller. So now we'll take the shorts and we will align the waistband. So when the waistband should be attached like this on the top, but we're folding it over. So that the good side that we want to see in the end is attached to the good side of the bottom. And here we do the same. So we'll fold this around. And now we will attach this together. Make sure that the seam lines are lining up and that the middle of your buttonholes here is also lining up. Now we're going to sew all the way around, but we want to leave a little bit of space open here so we can put in our elastic in the end. We're sewing with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Now you want to measure the elastic for your waist. So you can put the elastic around your waist and then measure how long you would like it, and it should fit loosely around your waist. You can make it super tight, you can make it loose, whatever you like. So if you're making a strap, you can always make it tighter. So that would mean you can make your elastic a little bit looser, which can be more comfortable. And sometimes I like to just leave the straps and make my shorts perfectly fitting. And when I make my elastic, I usually make them 80 centimeters long. And I will sew this with a zigzag stitch. So when you're finished, it should look something like this. Now is a good time to try on your shorts to see how you like the fit of the waistband, if it's too tight, because before we close this, you can easily adjust the waistband. So when your elastic is the perfect size, you will sew this part closed. So for the hemming of your short, we will fold it first about half a centimeter up, and then we will fold it however much you want to fold it up. So if you fold it up a lot, your short will be shorter, and if you fold it a little bit, your short will be longer. So for me, I always like to do about 2.5 centimeters all the way around. So I am just trying mine on, and I really like the 1/2 centimeter and then 2.5 centimeters. So if you would like to have it very long, you can also overlock this edge and then just fold it in and sew it like this, so it'll be even longer. So we're following the edge of the hemline and we're going all the way around. If you're super sure your waistband is the correct size, you can overlock it. So one thing I always do after I've overlocked my waistband is to just press it down, because if it's standing upwards, it might give your pant a little bit of a different look. All right, so I have my strap fabric here. We'll fold it over once and I'm putting it under my normal presser foot and lining it up with the 1 centimeter seam allowance on the left. And then we'll just go from top to bottom with stitch length 2.5. And if you want to, you can cut some off of that excess. This just makes it a little bit easier to turn inside out. So I take my smallest one and it just goes through. Hey, no. I'm gonna find it with my loop turner. Yay, we got it. Alright, so you can sew off these edges if you want to. I usually leave them, or I make a tiny knot. Once you have ironed your drawstring, you can put it through the holes. And then pull it out all the way at the other side. This is what the back looks like. Pull this up. If you have made your set, please send me a picture. I cannot wait to see this set on you, and thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope it turned out amazing. Bye!